How's it going, guys? My name's Wilson. Already March 2023, 5 total players averaging 31 a game or more. Welcome to today's NBA. Most players who average above 30 a game in a season shall more than likely make the Hall of Fame. Active players like Bradley Beal put up 31.3 points in 2021 will be a Hall of Fame toss-up. DeMar DeRozan last season averaged nearly 28 a game, a likely Hall of Famer, but not guaranteed. Zach LaVine put up 27.4 points in 2021. Hasn't been as great since. Even Trae Young in year 2 averaged over 29.5 points. Paul George at his peak put up 28 with OKC. Many of these guys will be Hall of Famers, but a bunch of players in past decades shockingly averaged near 30 points a game for a season, some of whom you might not be familiar with. But no worries, we'll see how truly great these players were and why they didn't become Hall of Famers. Before we start this video, I would like to give a shout out to my new sponsor, Mojo. Have you ever wondered what it would be like if there was a stock market for athletes, a platform where you could invest in your favorite players you believe in, put your money where your mouth is, and truly believe they will be performing well in real time? You could be rewarded. The Mojo app does just that. Mojo is a sports stock market app where you can invest in players based on their careers. The better they play, the more money you make. The Mojo app just recently added a list of over 120 NBA players along with the NFL. Each player's market price moves based on their in-game performances. You must be 21 years old or over to bet and be located in the state of New Jersey under its current license to trade. But if you're outside of New Jersey, you can still browse through the web. For a first deposit bonus of $75, use the code WilsonSign75. I shared the link on the app on the description below. Once again, use the code WilsonSY75. Now on to the video. Starting with World B. Free of the San Diego Clippers, the 6'2" guard put up at least 22 points a game for 8 seasons, called multiple nicknames like the Brownsville Bomber, Prince of Midair, and All-World. Drafted second round in 75, averaged 28.8 points in 79, making All-NBA second team, then upped his production to 30.2 points a game in 1980. His first and only All-Star team for his career, played for the Sixers' first 3 seasons before traded to San Diego for a future first that turned out to be Charles Barkley. Coach Gene Shue allowed Lloyd to have more opportunities, broke out, opened up the 79-80 season with a 46-point bomb against the eventual champion Magic and Kareem's Lakers. The Rainbow Jumper, the only non-active player to score 30 in a season and not make the Hall of Fame, kind of had a bad reputation during his playing days. He only made 2 postseasons after his time with Philly, scored a ton but didn't win much. Another underappreciated player from the 80s, Mark Aguirre of the Dallas Mavericks, is an absolute travesty. The 3-time All-Star not in the Hall, put up 29.5 points, 52.5% shooting in 84 with Dallas. His third season, 43 wins under Dick Mata, lost to Showtime in the semis, second leading scorer that season behind Adrian Dantley. No All-NBA team due to the loaded forward position of Larry Bird, Bernard King, Dantley, and Julius Erving, all on better teams. After joining the Mavs as an expansion, the first pick of the 81 draft, also factoring his NCAA career, Aguirre, a very similar game to Melo in his later years, scoring in the mid-20s, took the 88 Lakers to 7 in the conference finals, then traded to Detroit, teamed up with his buddy Isaiah Thomas, won 2 titles as a role player, sacrificed his numbers for winning, but due to the better guys in his position during his era, Aguirre's name often swept under the rug. Kiki Vandeweghe, the 6'8" forward, was an absolute bucket. Under Doug Moe, the high-power offensive 1980s Nuggets, the 2-time All-Star, even averaged the career best 29.4 points on 56% shooting, 78 games played. The German native was a great shooter, the perfect definition of an all-offense minimum defense guy. Finished 3rd in the league in scoring that year behind Adrian Dantley and Mark Aguirre. An unstoppable step-back jumper, a rare move for his time. The son of NBA reserve Ernie Vandeweghe, absolutely most memorable for his stroller performance, December 13, 1983, still remains the highest scoring game in the history of the NBA, 186-184 defeat to the Pistons. Kiki dropped the game high 51 points. Some recall Kiki to be the 6'8" version of Jerry West scoring wise, can pull up, stop on a dime and hit 20-footers, had more points in the 80s decades than the likes of Julius Erving, Kevin McHale and Isaiah Thomas, but forgotten due to lack of team success. A decent post game, part of the big three that would feature teammate Alex English and Dan Izzo. Traded the following season to the Blazers. His former team got a lot better after he was gone, slowed down in '89 with back injury, then spent 3 seasons in the early '90s at the Big Apple, having 7 seasons putting up above 20 points. Vandeweghe's career averages of 19.7 points, 52.5% shooting in 13 seasons, very solid. Purvis short of the Golden State Warriors, a name some of you might have never heard of. His 1985 scoring outburst, 2 points short of averaging 30, the 6'7" small forward in his prime at 27 years young, 7th season with the Dubs, a terrible team under coach Johnny Botch, 22 and 60 overall, drafted 5th in the 1978 draft out of Jackson State, right ahead of Larry Bird, one of the forgotten best players to never make the All-Star team, known for a silky high arcing jumper, had a career best 59 points November 17th of 1984 against New Jersey, 20 of 28 shooting, also had a 57-point game the season before. The rainbow jumper money wasn't voted in as an All-Star due to the talents of Magic Johnson, George Gervin, Adrian Dantley, Alex English, Norm Nixon, Calvin Nat, and Rolando Blackman in the guard/forward positions, an underappreciated era when it came to incredible offensive talent. Maybe some younger retired players can learn a thing or two about their lack of NBA history knowledge before making false assumptions of 1980s players, before the incredible shooting of Steph and Clay, and even before the Brooklyn prodigy Chris Mullin took over Golden State, and right after the brashy Rick Barry era. The franchise had Purvis short, had a similar game to DeMar DeRozan as a mid-range mastery, a bucket getter, flawless catch and shoot guy, excellent in getting to his spots, didn't get his recognition due to having little playoff success, finally made it to the postseason his 9th season, also spent 2 seasons in Houston before finishing up with the Nets. Only longtime Warrior fans and 80s NBA fanatics truly know how great watching the 6'7" forward was. Michael Adams of the Denver Nuggets, a team with many low-key amazing bucket getters throughout the decades. The 5'10" point guard didn't quite average 30 points, but in the 91 season put up 26.5 points, 10.5 assists, started 66 games, also 2.2 steals in an era filled with Hall of Famers. Only Pat Ewing, Barkley, Bernard King, Karl Malone, and Jordan averaged more points that season. Didn't even make the All-Star team. Despite his team averaging 120 points, you would think they're dominating, but gave up a whooping 131, last in the league, due to his Nuggets winning just 20 games that season, played with Orlando Woodridge and rookie Muhammad Abdul-Rauf. Adams, one of the biggest one-hit wonders, never even averaged over 19 points and 8 assists in any season again. The NBA's first high-volume 3-point shooter, attempted 8.5 triples a game that season, even recorded 79 consecutive games with a 3 made. Super shocking he got so many buckets with a weird-looking form. If you thought 2023's NBA had no defense, here's a small sample of the atrocious 91 Nuggets' first several games, an absolute travesty of a disgrace to 90s basketball. Even gave up a whopping 173 points to the Suns in regulation, the worst defensive team in NBA history. Adams traded to the Bullets the following year, took less shots since. Safe to say, his production under head coach Paul Westhead, high pace, lots of empty stats on offense, literally zero defense. Dale Ellis of the Seattle Sonics 1989, his very peak, his first and only All-Star selection, the 6'7" 2 guard, averaged 27.5 points, 50% shooting, coached by Bernie Bickerstaff, lost to the semis to the Lakers, had second option Xavier McDaniel, the perfect example of a 90s player being able to excel and drive even better in today's NBA, 40% career 3-point shooter, shot an incredible 48% from deep. His best season, making 162 of 339 threes, 4 triples attempted, a huge amount back in the day. Ellis would be a max contract type player with his lethal outside shooting in today's NBA, super fluid jumper, the first player to reach 1,000 career threes before Reggie Miller, great footwork and balance, not heavily remembered, combined with a bad public image, getting into legal issues, didn't get along with some teammates, started his career age 28, started to decline by the mid-90s When it came to the best pure three-point shooters all time, many 80s and 90s fans who truly watch Ellis would have him in their top 5, even including today's players. Tom Chambers of the Phoenix Suns, the 4-time All-Star, an absolute bucket in the late 80s to early 90s, the 30-year-old for the 54-win Suns averaged a staggering 27.2 points, 50% shooting for a team that made it all the way to the conference finals and knocked off the reigning Western Conference champion Lakers, only falling to Portland in 6. Before there were 6'10" athletes who can run up and down the court, Chambers, the original of the Kevin Durant's and Dirk Nowitzki's of the world, remains one of the greatest players to not be in the Hall, the 4-time All-Star, even won All-Star Game MVP in '87 for the Sonics, the league's first ever unrestricted free agent, retired with over 20,000 career points after 16 seasons, super competitive, second team All-NBA in '89 and '90. Conference finals back-to-back years. His first year in Phoenix averaged 25.7 points, regressed when Barkley was acquired in '92. Chambers then took the 6-man role off the bench. Bill Simmons recalls Tom as the player dividing the line between being very good to Hall of Fame caliber. The closest player in 2023 we have to Tom Chambers, Larry Marketing of the Utah Jazz. How about that comparison? Jerry Stackhouse of the Detroit Pistons 2001. The 6'2" guard started out with the Sixers but couldn't fit with AI. On a bad Pistons team, the 2-time All-Star averaged the career best 29.8 points, just shot 40% from the field, 24 shot attempts. His team won just 32 games, one of the most unexpected near 30-point game seasons of anybody in the league. His second highest scoring year, 23.6 the season before, with a roster left to be desired after the Grant Hill era. Stack had the green lights to jack up as many shots he wants, had a career best 57 points April 3rd against the Bulls, the former 3rd pick in the '95 draft, also one of the few athletes labeled as the next Jordan. Had insane athleticism, a good scorer, but never shot over 44% in any season, had difficulty playing with other star players in AI, and then after Detroit struggled fitting in with old MJ with the Wizards because his team didn't produce wins as the go-to, having a high ego. Stackhouse finally accepted his role as a 6-man type for the Mavs. Had he been more team-oriented and willing to figure out how to blend in with other good players early on, his career might have turned out differently. Michael Redd of the Milwaukee Bucks, the one-time All-Star, had a filthy jumper, played just 53 games in '07, averaged 26.7 points. Injuries derailed his career, the lone star for the Bucks in the mid-2000s. Many compare him to a poor man's James Harden. Lacks playoff success, never got out the first round, would be considered as a terrific second option on a good team, lethal third option on a contender. Before Steph Curry came to the league, outside of Ray Allen, many believe Redd was the second best pure shooter in the entire NBA. Even had a 57-point game, would have been a perfect complement next to LeBron. Had Redd elected to join the Cavs, only lasted 112 more games from age 29 on, a name many haven't thought of in months. Gilbert Arenas, an incredible scorer with the Wizards, the 3-time All-Star picked second round by Golden State, became a free agent after year 2, viewed upon as the franchise player. Gilbert slowly rose up as a promising star, made the All-Star team in 2005 as a 23-year-old, even led Washington to the second round before having his highest scoring average in 2006, put up 29.3 points on nearly 7 threes attempted, was doing Dame Lillard things before Dame Lillard. Even in the top 10 player discussion, Arenas won toe-to-toe with 21-year-old LeBron in the postseason. Despite falling in 6, Agent Zero showed up and balled out, except for choking at the free throw line. Fearless and super clutch, his personality matched his style of play. If he had better defenders, would have been in more key playoff moments. Went on to average 28.4 points a game in '07 before the ACL tear. Dropped 60 on Kobe's Lakers that season, ended the Suns' 15-game winning streak in double overtime with a 54 bomb, 3 walk-off game-winning buzzer beaters. Before the injury, there wasn't more than 5 guys you would take in the clutch over Hibachi. Unfortunately, never the same after blowing out his knee at just age 25. More injuries started piling on before signing that ridiculous contract Washington gave him. Plus, the locker room incident tarnished his image. True hoopers will remember Gilbert as a pioneer for modern perimeter players today, pulling up from 30 feet and embarrassing defenders one-on-one. A pre-ACL injury, Arenas would easily average over 30 points in today's NBA. While Isaiah Thomas, still a free agent, The two-time All-Star had the perfect team designed for his success. The 2017 Celtics, hard-nosed Avery Bradley, Jay Crowder, and Al Horford. The role players did all the dirty work. Defense and set screens allowed IT to flourish. Standing at just 5'9", the Washington native averaged nearly 29 points, over 46% shooting, was missed the fourth quarter, played 76 games before a career-changing hip injury, was done 2 games into the conference finals, finished 5th for MVP, one of the most unlucky players, never got his max, became a shell of himself afterwards, and a journeyman in and out the league. Many lost track how many teams IT's been on. As of 2023 in March, the answer is 10. Once his scoring diminished with his lack of D, many teams unfortunately don't see any use for IT post-injury. IT experienced firsthand, love and loyalty isn't forever. The NBA is ultimately all business. Another former star with super unlucky timing due to injuries and missing out on contract, DeMarcus Cousins, the former 4-time All-Star, will surely not be in the Hall of Fame. A borderline player despite being just 32 right now, free agent, the Achilles in 2018, career-defining injury at just 27, was playing amazing ball with AD. Cousins in 2017 did average 27 and 11, 55 games with the Kings, 17 with New Orleans, 26.9 points the previous year, but never close to cracking the playoffs as the first option. The most talented center in the league during the mid-2010s, had Hall of Fame talent with skill, size, and athleticism, underrated passer, and added a serviceable outside shot, but many of his qualities overshadowed by his antics, being on a bad team, getting little to no coverage. His impact never matched his talents, combined with being in Sacramento. As more years go by, unless Cousins makes a crazy comeback, his name will certainly be forgotten. Honorable mentions includes Bob Love and Danny Granger. Which one of these guys are you most shocked by to average around 30 points a game? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks again for watching. Love y'all. See you next time.